Do you feel like you've been stuck in maybe some chaos loops lately? I mean, there is so much happening in the world and it's not always pleasant. And we can feel like we're out of control. We can feel like we don't have, any way to deal with our emotions in a healthy way. And I want to talk a little bit about, resilience and what it means in terms of our own personal lives, because we might not have control over anything, but we do have control over ourselves and the way that we react to things. And this is why resilience is very helpful, because we can't show up with confidence. We can't make good decisions for ourselves and for other people if we're operating from a place of reactivity instead of responsiveness. So let's talk about that. So, first of all, real resilience is not about, pushing through, acting like everything is fine, acting like you're fine, pushing everything down, and then just kind of like, reacting, exploding to things that happen. So it's actually about being able to, regulate your nervous system response so that when things happen, you are able to bring yourself back to a grounded state and at least act from a mentally responsive state instead of just, being emotional and reacting. So there are 5 pillars of resistance, and EFT tapping can help you to strengthen these one by one. So EFT tapping is a mind-body tool, and it is fantastic for regulating your nervous system, being able to recalibrate when you do feel activated, when you do feel upset, when you're having a response within your body. So let's talk about physical resilience. So your body is your battery. So what does that mean? So you can't, be running off of caffeine and junk food and everything like that and expect to be able to have that mental resilience, that physical resilience that you need to operate on a day-to-day basis. You're going to be sluggish. Maybe you're going to have more crashes. Maybe you're not going to have any energy. And you're just not going to be able to feel well in general. And when we don't feel well, it's really hard to show up with, strength and conviction and be able to do the responsible things that we need to do in our daily lives and also in general, in terms of our responsibilities. So it's important to, watch for those burnout signs. Make sure that you're getting, micro resting. You're unplugging from, doom scrolling on Instagram. Make sure that you're getting enough water. So many things are, it's just a matter of asking yourself, have I drunk anything? Do I need some water? Am I thirsty? Am I hungry? Did I get enough rest? Did I move my body today? These are the kind of things that we should always check first before asking yourself, okay, am I depressed? Am I anxious? Okay, have I handled my body's needs today? The second one is mental resilience. Okay, so quieting that thought spiral. So, making sure that, when you kind of fall into these loops of like overthinking and decision fatigue, trying to think away and, all of these kinds of feelings and emotions, it ends up draining you. Jessica Ortner says, that you can't stress yourself to a solution. So just going over things and ruminating and lying awake is not going to be helpful. So when you use EFT tapping, this is a really good way to be able to quiet that and also to get things out. So you can literally kind of go through the tapping motions like this, and you can just be ranting. You can just get it out, all of the things that you want to say, whether it's petty, whether it's anger, whether it's sadness, maybe you need to release and, cry. Whatever it is, you can be able to release it this way so that you can bring yourself back to a general grounded level and approach your day with more conviction and strength. So emotional resilience is the third one. And, process, do not store your emotions, because so many times when we go around telling everybody that we're fine, we're actually holding everything inside and it's just kind of festering around, and it's usually getting worse because that's also leading to us feeling bad, overthinking about it. And then of course that goes back to the original part about reactivity, because if we're not grounded, if we're having all of these different emotions, of course we're going to be reactive to everything that's going around us. And we're also going to be more likely to take things personally when maybe we shouldn't. So when it comes to the emotional resilience part, we need to make sure that we can label our emotions accurately, use tapping to release them, and create this pause button so you can go ahead and let it out before you react, so that you can have a responsive and a smart response. Social resilience. So making sure that we can, avoid shape-shifting and, people-pleasing and everything like that, just to try to fit in. It's okay when we're able to accept that, we can be independent, we can enjoy our own company. And in social situations where they maybe feel draining or they don't feel comfortable to us, that we can kind of gauge how long our limit is and how long we need to stay in them before we're moving on to a better situation for us. So spiritual resilience, anchoring in deeper meaning to our lives. Without it, sometimes, we don't have faith in anything, and whether or not it's, you're talking about God or a higher power or some kind of, higher self. It's just about, being able to have a belief system where you can keep hopeful during difficult times, even when things sometimes feel disastrous or hopeless or whatever. And it's important to define your own success in this world, because we don't all start from the same place. We don't all have the same tools. We don't all have the same resources. And so it's important to remember, to release those kind of comparisons that make us feel like things are unfair, and our perception of the world can really get jaded by that. So with EFT tapping, it is a tool that it's fantastic to be able to release your emotions, to also help build those 5 pillars of resilience that will help you to navigate challenges better, because we can't always eliminate challenges, and especially things happening, but we can learn to deal with them better so that we can show up better for ourselves and the people we love, and the people in the world. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about EFT tapping, you can go to the link in my bio, try to download some of the free resources that I have. You can also follow me here or on YouTube to get some more tapping sequences, and you can learn a little bit about it and see if it works for you. So my name is Andrea Hunt, and I'll see you guys later.